Yep. Thanks, Rick. Quick recap of week one. Always coming off week one, there's a lot to be encouraged by, and there's a lot to learn from. I'm proud of our football team. I like the men in that locker room. I really feel good about how we approached practice leading up to the game. I feel good about how we embraced the atmosphere that was Montana. I would be willing to say that that's the top venue I've been to outside of Power 4, and it's not even close. Not a seat was empty. The fans stood and cheered the whole time. Coach Houck, tremendous head football coach, tremendous group of men that he's leading over there in that ball club. Really good stuff. On the Missouri State side, again, offensively, I think we moved the ball efficiently with the run game. Too many negative plays. We were able to make some really contested catches. I know wide receiver was one of the positions in the offseason that we were, didn't know a ton about with all the transfers, and we still had some guys coming back, but I think they solidified themselves as a group that we can count on to make plays down the field. Jacob Clark, again, that the play that really sticks out in your mind is the third down before half. You sit there and you go, Jacob, you've got 20 yards, take the run, go for it. I think he got a little mixed up about where the yard marker was. Again, that's one of those things that happens during the game that you'd like to get back, because going into half at that point, you get points, you get the ball coming out of half, you're in a really, really good spot. But again, you could go back on a bunch of other plays. Defensively, I think for the most part, schematically, we were sound outside of one play, and the one play killed us. It was the 4th and 1. They tempoed us. We didn't get aligned properly, and it goes for a touchdown. Against really, really talented football teams, you can't afford to have, there were 65 plays in the football game on defense. You can't have 63 really good ones. You have to have 65 really good ones to beat those caliber of football teams. Special teams, I thought we handled the moments pretty well. We tried for the sky kick when they were lined up in hands. It was the right call. We got to execute and keep the ball in bounds with the chance to get it back. Other than that, the glaring thing that you have to clean up is the penalties. You can't ever have 13 penalties for 112 yards and expect to win any football game, let alone beat a top 5 opponent. But just the fact that we basically controlled the majority of the game and we're right there at the end, I think is a testament to our football team as a whole moving forward. And we got another good game against Ball State coming up, another road trip.
Injuries along the offensive line played a big part kind of late, especially there. Just what are the updates on Eric, Christian, Hudson, and Justin? Yeah, still not hopeful about Eric K this week.
I think that he will need at least one more week. Christian Loiza, who was our starting left tackle, took an injury the second play of the game. He was out the remainder of the game. Again, he's on crutches this morning. Normally, we get our reports midway through Monday. With it being Labor Day, we might be a little bit longer until we have an official report getting back from the doctors. A freak thing that happened, which everybody's probably like, where's Justin Curtis? Justin Curtis broke and fractured ribs in pregame. Again, that doesn't happen very often, and it was unfortunate, obviously, because we had a bunch of guys out. Hudson Lillybridge, our starting guard, is on crutches as well due to an ankle injury. Hope to get him back as quickly as we possibly can. But in saying that, the guys that did come in and play and perform under that kind of pressure with that kind of environment, hats off to those guys that were ready to get in there and do the job the best they could and try to make the best of it.
So you're hopeful to have any of those guys this week?
Too hard to say. I honestly can't give you my gut says I hope to get Curtis back, because you can just wrap some ribs up and play. The other two, I would say, are doubtful.
Talk to me a little bit about special teams. I know that was a big emphasis going into this game. Did you all change kind of your attitude towards special teams when you realized that Junior Bergen wasn't going out and returning punts and kicks, that he was on the sideline in street clothes?
Yeah, we were a little bit more open to punting it to him. The plan was going into the game was keep the ball away from number 5. Just like we talked about all week, Junior is extremely elusive in the return game, and right when we figured out that he was not playing, we said, hey, kick it to him, try to do the best we can covering, and I think we did a decent job of containing him. The 20-yard return late hurt us, but outside of that, that was really the only lapse in special teams. Again, the sky kick, it's a late change based on formation. Not a ton of reps at it. We got to work that more, and that's on me as a coach, putting him in a position that he probably hasn't repped enough to make sure he does efficiently.
How were you affected at all, or how were you affected the first time seeing number 40 run out for Missouri State to line up in that jumbo package there, seeing Connor get out there early in the game.
Yeah, I still have chills right now. Not only as a head football coach, but as a father of 4. I can only imagine the joy that was going through his heart and the feelings that his family was experiencing watching him come out and get to, not only did he play, he was productive. He was one of our special teams players of the week, and just, you know, the Lord works in mysterious ways. The way that people were able to rally around Connor, this community, our football team, it's tremendously impactful.
What are you doing about the penalties? What do you say to the team? Because this isn't a problem that's just this week. You've talked about maturity with this team a lot and how that's improved, but I mean, you go back as far as Youngstown State when you guys are on the road in 21 to where you guys have some personal fouls. You lose the game. It gives them points.
Sure.
You guys don't get a first round in the playoffs because you lose that game. Just it seems to be something that's affected this program for a few years. Just what is the message to try to get that across to these guys?
Yeah, it has to change 100%. You can't ever have 13 penalties. Now the breakdown is a little bit different this game than it was in that Youngstown game. You had 4 false starts. You had a few holding penalties. You know, the one early with Dylan Simmons was a knucklehead play. When you've got guys wrapped up, you have to have the emotional intelligence to understand your job is done. It's not personal. Our game is not personal. You do your job, you get ready for the next play. And then the other personal foul I know you're referring to is on the late drive with Jalen Williams pulling the guy off the pile. You know, in my opinion, you have to understand where you're at. You're not going to get calls just because you see 6 other linemen jump and spear a guy on the ground doesn't mean you have the right to react. We have to understand exactly, you know, who we are, where we're at, the environment that we're in, and understand that you have to play smart football. You can't give, you know, first downs that we can't afford to lose. But we have to do a better job as coaches making sure that we handle those things in practice. And we've already, you know, yesterday's team meeting was tremendous. Everyone was, you know, still a little beat up, a little hurt. You know, they only had about 5 hours before we were back in the building, getting here at 6 a.m. Hats off to our players. The plane landed at 5:30. They're in their bed at 6, and then they're back on Sunday evening watching the film, getting themselves ready to go. And the expectation in this program right now is to win. There are no, I'm sure you'll hear from those guys back there, there is no such thing as moral victory anymore. Around here at Missouri State football, we have the talent to win. Now the last stage of building a program is learning how to win. You can't just raise your hand and say, I want to win. Are you willing to do what it takes in the moment to put your team above self? And that, I think, is an important key.
Is it still a player-led thing when you have those discussions? Just, I'm sure that you look to your captains and say, "We got to stop. You got to stop this."
Yeah, absolutely. And those guys spoke a little bit, and they'll continue to wrap their arms around the locker room. The one thing that really did stick out during Saturday night's game was our leadership. Our executive board players, our team captains. I've never seen Jacardier lead like he did on the sideline. He was high positive the entire time. I think the difference that you saw Saturday compared to a few years past and where we're at exactly as a football team is there was no quit. No one laid down. In the fourth quarter, when we got punched in the mouth a little bit, we fought back, gave ourselves a chance at the end, and that's growth. That's maturity. That's showing that you can stay in the fight and continue to do things you need to do to put yourself in a position to win the football game.
You brought up Jacardier, had almost as many yards receiving as he had rushing. Was that just a product of kind of the new body type and showcasing what he can do, or was that really just about what the defense was giving you and Jacob kind of had to check down a little bit more as opposed to going vertically?
Yeah, probably a mixture of both. As we went through camp, one of the points of emphasis was making sure that we got Jacardier touches out of the backfield, not just handing him the football. I think it showed up. Coach Petrino called it Jim. I think he called a really, really nice game. Man, he can dial it up. And one thing Montana is really good at is defensive pressure. They bring pressure from, you know, gut pressure, strong, weak. They bring pressure from all over the place, sometimes all of them. And the ability of Jacob to check the ball down to Jacardier on that screen on the big third down was extremely impressive.
You talk about Jaden Bex. I mean, obviously with Jacardier, he's the centerpiece, but Jaden came in, barring one of the holding, he would have had 2 30-plus yard touchdown runs.
Yeah, thunder and lightning. I mean, what a combination. You know, those two guys are attached to the hip. I laugh all the time, like, Jacardier, where's your nephew at? You know, because he's mentored Jab the whole time. He's taught him how to watch film. He's taught him how to prepare for practice. he's helped him with his visualization before games. Those two are impact players, and I think that our O-line did a nice job of opening up some running lanes. And I get it, all the false starts are unfortunate and unacceptable, but they did do a really nice job of overcoming some adversity and still being able to pick up some of the pressure. Outside of that last drive, I thought they held up pretty well.
You mentioned, obviously, this is right. We're no longer in the try to win it phase, right? We're in the you got to win games phase. So with this loss, kind of looking like last year's narrow losses, but it feels different.
Sure.
People I've talked to say this loss gives more hope than it does dismay. Why does this narrow loss feel different than last year's?
I think we're a different football team, and it showed. I think the physicality that we played with, the way we were able to, you just didn't see the issues that you saw the last few years show up. Obviously, again, the one you would say would be the personal foul issue. We had two really, really nonsense penalties that you can't have. But the face mask, those type of penalties, we got to be cleaned up with pad level, but I think we're okay. One thing we have to understand, the pressure comes from within. The program, when we first got here, you just needed hope to field a team and show up and win any games. And now that we've been here for a few years, we've established some culture, this is how you win games. We've got all the talent that we need. Now it's time to go. Just like I said earlier, learn to win and understand what it takes to be one of those programs that wins on a consistent basis.
And how about your defense? That was a huge question mark coming in this year. They forced Montana to go 2 for 9 on third down. That was something we didn't see a lot. How about their effort?
Third down efficiency was good, and we've talked about that all off season. I thought they flew around for the most part and made the plays we needed to make. Obviously, there's still growth. I wish you guys were in the film room with us, because as tight as the game was, we could have been exponentially better. And I think that's what has the guys in the locker room, as well as the staff, excited about moving forward, is that we still got a lot to clean up. That was game one. There were mishaps all over the place. But the thing I like is that they rally around each other and they really like football. You can see it on the field, how fast they play, their physicality, and just their overall understanding of the scheme, I think, has grown.
Last year I remember hearing, some of the similar things about how you liked how your team played in that first game against Kansas. Obviously, the score not being as close. Obviously, that didn't translate into the wins that you wanted. How do you take something like this, a performance like this, and take that next step with the program?
Yeah, I wish I could sit up here and guarantee a win every time we play. I really do. I think with our process, we're in the right place that we need. I think we have the players in place that we need, and I think that they understand just how close we are. It's a different feel. Last year, you talk about a group of guys that had never really played together, don't really know each other, transfers here and there, young guys that are just now playing. And I just think it's a different feel in the locker room in regards to knowing how to get to where we want to go, which is wins. But you have to be process oriented. You can't just worry about win. It's how do you get to the wins and what do you do in the moment that gets you those wins.
This is your FBS opponent this year. What can an FBS win do, you think, just heading into next year, just kind of building the hope around this program as it makes that transition?
I know you love coach talk. It's the most important because it's the next one. But it really is. It is a good FBS opponent. I've coached in the MAC. We went to the MAC West Championship with Central Michigan. I've played in Muncie. I'm excited about the opportunity. I think that we match up well. We've actually, I don't know if you guys noticed who the offensive coordinator is, Jared Elliott. Our first win of the Bobby Petrino era was at Western Illinois, and he was the head coach. Anybody remember that? Yeah, so we got a familiar face. It's important to go down there and put on a good showing. I think the most encouraging part for me, White, is that our guys are hungry and ready to go. They have every reason to go, oh man, we were so close, we're so tired from the travel. You've heard zero, you've heard none of that. Everybody's excited, they're ready to go, they believe in what we're doing, and it works. You just took the top 5 team in the country to the ropes at their own place, and all you heard about all week was how hostile the environment is. Sure it was, but we answered the bell, and I think that we stood tall.
One final thought on your safety's performance, Todrick McGee.
Yeah, he's an outstanding ball player. The one thing I'm most proud about, and I give Todrick all the credit in the world for this, when he first got here, he struggled to transition in and out of breaks. He's made himself into a formidable ball player. He's a leader on our defense. He's another coach out there. I don't know. I don't know if you could ask for much more back there from a guy in your secondary that's been with our staff for as long as he has. He understands the defense better than almost anyone on the entire football field, and he plays fast and aggressive. I think, again, I don't know exactly what his stat line was. I think he had 11-ish tackles. He flies around, he makes plays, and I only see him getting better. That's what I like about Todrick, is he's never satisfied with the performance. He always understands that there's things that he could have fixed and corrected. But I gave him a hug after the game and told him, man, just put the burden on me. You're okay. You're doing exactly what we're asking you to do. I have broad shoulders. Let us take the brunt of it, and you keep your joy in football and go win the next one.
You go up against Ball State, and they haven't played a game yet. You don't have any film on them, or you don't have that film on them or anything, just to know what they're like. Just, your thoughts on them and how you've been able to approach this game, just as if you were going into another Week 1 game and kind of in preparation for having a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, we just get luckier and luckier. You go on the road to Montana, 3-hour flight. You get to play the number 3 team in the country. You get to bounce back with a team that has a bye week on their first week. Pretty good stuff. And another great thing about them is they've got like 8 new coaches on staff. Obviously, the coordinator's been there. Apparently, their quarterback that finished the season last year is playing safety. So, yeah, there's a bunch of unknowns around that, which we have to do the very best we can. I kind of alluded to it earlier. We do a bunch of background. So again, we've watched the Western Illinois film. We've watched their film from last year. We've watched obviously nothing from this year because we haven't played. So we just have to do a good job of being flexible. I think one thing, and on both sides of the ball this week, because their defensive coordinator is brand new. Their defensive coordinator is from Butler. So they've been watching a bunch of Butler film, making sure they're dialed there. But again, I think I said this almost exactly the same way last week. One of the most encouraging things about our football staff right now is our ability to adjust in-game. We've got highly intelligent football coaches that care, that put the time in, that have a plan going into the game, and I would put our in-game adjustments up against anybody.
What do you make of Patrick Ransdell and the hire that Missouri State made?
Yeah, home run hire. I think he is extremely intelligent. I think he's got charisma. I think I put this on the internet the other day. He's the right man at the right time. And everybody's like, what do you mean? I think his vigor for success and his ability to create long-lasting relationships is going to be a big deal for us here at Missouri State. And the other thing that I really like, he's a competitor. He's a college athlete. His father was one of the best in the business. I was fortunate enough to be with him at Western Kentucky. He was the president at Western Kentucky when we transitioned into FBS, and there would be no high-level G5 Western Kentucky without Gary Ransdell, and so his pedigree is huge. And I want to go back to Patrick in regards to his competitiveness. He's going to hold people accountable. I think this department desperately needs that, myself included. I think people operate better with a vision and a plan and understand that you have a job to do. Obviously, football is a little different because we're still trying to make up for lost time in regards to everything else outside of football. But once that gets coming along, I think it'll be a great thing.
What have you made of those early conversations? Because, like you say, you have a lot of making up to do on football going into the future. Just his vision that he sold you on when that AD and football coach relationship is an important one.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit it on the head, man. He understands what it's going to take, but he's also realistic enough to know that he's not going to be able to snap his fingers and cure everything. I think he's got a plan for some of the things that need immediate attention, which I know that he'll get done. But again, the things that President Williams has talked about, the stadium, the locker room, just the areas that our players are in has to improve. I mean, you've been around our facilities. You understand kind of what the guys are dealing with, and if you want to be in FBS and not be changing head coaches every few years, that's one thing that has to be addressed.
Your predecessor, you joked last week, right? Did you know favors in making such a tough schedule this year, right? 3 or 4 teams you guys are going to play. We're in the FCS semifinal last year. A win or a loss like Saturday was. What does that say and give you guys hope for coming into playing top-tier teams like that? As far as like being battle tested, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think, again, it was good for us to go up against a tough Montana team, and you had every chance to win the ball game. We didn't get it done. That's on the Missouri State Bears. That's on the head football coach, Ryan Beard, for not finishing the game properly, making sure that we were in position to do what we needed to do. Our players left it on the line. It's on me, okay? And our players know that we're fully capable. We're fully, we believe in what we're doing, and I think that as we continue to go, after this press conference, we won't talk about Montana again. All right, we're on to Ball State. Give it about 24, 48 hours, let it hurt, let it marinate, and you have to move on. Because, again, every single team on our schedule, we need to show up and have our best available and ready to go.
Coach, a lot of Bears fans might look at the schedule and see North Dakota State, South Dakota State again. I'm not asking you about any games other than Ball State here,
Sure.
what you see your team doing, but after a performance against Montana, because those three teams are linked, that's the top three teams on the FCS 1, 2, 3 right there. What is that? Does that excite you about what is possible this season? Because now it just looks like there is not an opponent that you can't run with, which maybe in previous years is not always the case.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's also potential is a scary thing. We've got a bunch of potential, but we haven't realized some of that potential, and that's what we have to do, and that's what we've been preaching since the team meeting is guys, it's team above self in every single aspect. You have everything that we need to be successful, and you can go win any game you want to win, but it takes action. We have to go do it and stop talking about, we're really talented, we're good at this, we're good at that. We're going to address our issues that we need to address, get better, move forward, and go put on a show against Ball State.
And what are you most excited about that your new athletic director has talked with you about in regards to what changes he wants to make with the facilities, with the game day experience in football?
Yeah, I'm not just excited about, Ms. Ransdell, but I think the way that President Williams and Patrick work together, I think they really work together and fit well. That's a really important part of it too, that some people on the outside don't see. They have to have similar vision, and they have to have just similar ideas on what this needs to look like and where this needs to go. And I couldn't honestly be more excited. I know how much work we have to do here, and I heard Patrick was taking the job, and I shot him a text. I said, just take a deep breath before you get here and you come around the football offices and kind of, start crunching some numbers in regards to where we're at, because you're the man for the job. We can do it. There's no better place to be than Missouri State.
Had you ever heard of him while you were at Western Kentucky? I know there was that connection there.
Yeah, so I actually, I was a decent baseball player, and his brother was a senior, and I got to play some varsity games as a 7th grader. And I was a shortstop, he was a shortstop. Matt Ransdell is his name. So I had always heard of Patrick. I didn't know him personally, but I knew his brother and have a lot of respect for the family.
Back to Ball State. Obviously there's no film yet, but I'm guessing you produced some last year's film. A lot of the pieces are on the line still.
Yeah.
You got a good tight end coming back. What do you guys say about what they got up front? And then obviously you face some of the best lines in FCS every year, so.
Yeah, after you look at the numbers for Montana, you can't get any. I don't think humans get bigger than that, But like you did go and touch the point of they've played together for multiple years, and that's the thing I think that give you some concern there, is because they played good together. They've played good ball. They're all returning. Hats off to their head coach for being able to keep the tight end that jumped in the portal, because retention nowadays is tough. So they've got something going on in a positive way culturally, and we got a lot to prepare for.
Who was a better shortstop?
Between
you and Pat's brother.
He was a senior.
You haven't known me for a long time. I'm always betting on Ryan Beard. So I'm a bet on yourself type of guy. I don't know if the stats would say that.
Thank you, Coach.